Hello, congoers, and welcome to today's panel. My name is Dewey, the Mountain Dew Wolf, and I shall be your guide on deciding what headset would be best for you. I must emphasize, though, that this is more of an introduction panel to newcomers, explained in a simple way so everybody can understand it. But before we do get started with the headsets on how to decide what would be best for you guys, let's first discuss a couple of key terms that will be important when talking about these headsets. Um, some of these key terms are refresh rates, inside out tracking, outside tracking, and IPD. So when I do refer to refresh rate, it's essentially meaning that it's how fast the headset can update its picture on the display. Typically, the higher the refresh rate on a headset, the smoother the picture updates. So essentially, when you have higher uh, hertz, that's how they are measured, you'll less likely to get motion sickness in a headset if you are very prone to getting so. When I do talk about inside out tracking, it's essentially a tracking method on the headset where it does have cameras on it to help track your surrounding and the controllers. Only one downside about that is your controllers do have to be in sight and in line of the cameras on the headset. Now, when I do talk about outside tracking, that's essentially when you have these lighthouses or these little towers that are mounted around the room in your play area that will track you from the outside onto your controllers and your headset. The way that it does that, it does have LEDs to track your motion throughout the play space. Another thing would be IPD, interpupillary distance. If none of you don't really know what that is, it's essentially just the distance between the center of your eyes. If you don't know it, not that many people are too familiar with their IPD. You can just easily grab a tape measure, go in the mirror, measure the distance in it, make sure it is in millimeters though, and that will be your standard for what your IPD adjustment would be for a specific headset. Now that we got some of those terms out that not to newcomers would be too familiar, we can now move on to the headsets. And my first recommendation when it comes to getting into the VR world would be the Quest 2. The great thing about this headset, you don't need a PC whatsoever. For only about $300, it will have enough storage for a good handful of games. But if you do plan on hopefully purchasing even more, you're going to need more storage. Luckily, they do have a higher storage headset with 250 gigs, but that is an extra $100, which will come out to 400. The resolution on the headset is an 1832 by 1920 LCD panel, so it's a good quality resolution for a for a headset you don't really require a PC for. Currently, right now, from when I checked, it still has a 72 refresh rate, but they are implementing an update to get it up to 90 hertz, which is almost standard for current market headsets today. Um, when I mentioned about IPD, that is a very important measurement that you keep in mind. With the Quest 2, there is only three preset settings when it comes to this headset: 58 millimeters, 63, and 68. If you are anywhere in between these measurements, the headset will look a little bit blurry to you, but it's still usable. So don't fret too much about it. Another thing about this headset, it's got inside out tracking, which means, once again, there are cameras on the headset to help detect your surroundings. Another good thing with the Quest 2, it does have pass through, which means that you are able to actually see the outside world while you are in your VR headset. So if you are in a confined space that is small, you can have this setting on just to be sure you don't actually bump into things, but you can still move freely without running into anything while you have your headset on. As I reemphasize, the great thing about a Quest 2, you don't need a PC if you really want to hop into VR. You can still play Beat Saber, you can still play VR chat at a restricted cost, sadly. I will talk about more about that in a bit. It's a lightweight headset, only about a pound, so you don't have to worry about discomfort after long play sessions. And plus, it's a portable PC. It's a portable VR headset. You can literally take it anywhere, in any room, over to your friend's house, pretty much anywhere you want to go. Now, the only couple of downsides with this headset, you are limited to only what is on the Oculus Store. You sadly aren't really able to purchase other VR games like in Steam, but if you do look into the future of possibly getting an actual PC that can handle VR, you do have the option of using that same headset with your PC. Only thing is, you do have to purchase a Quest Link that is about $80. Make sure that PC does have USB 3.0 or a USB-C port just to be able to use the link. Um, but it's still you still have the option of purchasing other VR games later down in the future. Another big problem with Quest 2 currently right now, Facebook. For those of you who aren't aware, you are required to have a Facebook account in order to use the Quest 2. It's kind of a bummer. It restricts everybody who really aren't big fans of Facebook, the whole data sharing, all that stuff. It's a hassle. But if you are on a budget, if you're still coming with no PC, this is a viable option if you don't mind the whole Facebook requirement account. There have been issues with other people who will all of a sudden get banned because for some reason their Facebook account isn't abiding to their guidelines. There are some people who are still waiting for verifications because they haven't created a Facebook account that doesn't seem legit. Therefore, customer service has to verify them, and it will take a couple of weeks. But if you're willing to deal with that, and that really isn't an issue for you, the Quest 2, honestly, for what it is a really good headset if you're on a budget, and like I said, you can still future-proof it with the Oculus Link if you do plan on later down the road getting yourself an actual PC. Now, onto the next headset, which would be the HP Reverb G2, which is actually a fairly new headset that just recently came out. It's still currently in its pre-order phase, but if you do order it right now, you will be expected to get these headsets near sometime in December. The price of these headsets though are $599, roughly about $600. But the great thing about this headset, because it is so new, it is the best resolution LCD panel that you can get with the current day standards, other than the Pi Max. But we're not going to touch about that. I am currently talking about headsets that you can easily just hook up, be all good with controllers and all that. Um, with this headset, we are at again 90 hertz of refresh rate. It's pretty much the standard with all the rest of these headsets. Um, and another good thing about this headset, it does have a hardware adjustable IPD. So with that, if you're within the range of 60 millimeters or 68, you can easily adjust it to any point through there. If it be like 60.5, 60.4, it's in between that range, so you don't have to worry about having a specific IPD in order to use this headset. Another thing that they did with this headset, it is another inside-out tracking headset with 4 cameras. They have improved from the older headsets they used to have. I personally myself used to have like one of the very first mixed reality headsets that only had 2 cameras for inside-out tracking, and let me tell you, I could not play any VR games too well. Had a good time. That's kind of my gateway headset to all the other headsets, but they did learn from that and they've improved immensely. So it's really good tracking with these new updates that they've done to their headsets. Um, Plus, they've worked closely with Valve. For those who don't know, Valve is one of the companies who made the Valve Index, which is one of the main headsets I will be talking in this panel in a bit. And they worked with them to keep the floating speakers on the headset that has phenomenal audio. Um, it's just wonderful. It's amazing. Um, so you don't have to worry about that killing your immersion while using this headset. Unfortunately, that didn't keep the same microphone that they had with the Index to the HP Reverb, but it's still a good, clear microphone, a lot clearer than what I have on my headset currently. I've heard it, I've heard it before, and it's a wonderful headset. Um, Honestly, there really isn't much downsides to this headset. It recently came out. There are pre-orders. The only thing, though, it is a um, tethered and inside-out tracking headset. So for some of you who do plan on immersing yourself more, possibly in VR chat, you won't be able to use full body tracking. Move your little feet. um, but I mean, it's still a good headset. Good quality resolution. Audio is amazing. Microphone's amazing. For $600, you really can't go wrong with this headset at all. Now, I shall briefly move on to the next one, which is the HTC Cosmo. Don't Don't do it. For the love of God, do not buy the HTC Cosmo for any reason at all. It is a $700 headset. All right. The main killer with this headset is the tracking in itself. It's still an inside out tracking system, but for some reason, HTC Vive messed up so badly with this that you literally would have your hands almost 15 millimeters away from the controllers in VR. Just don't do it. It's not worth the price for this crummy headset. All right, just don't do it. However, there is the HTC Vive Cosmo Elite. It's essentially the upgraded version of the Cosmo. Don't get the Cosmo, please. Please don't get the Cosmo. Um, but the way that this tracking works, they removed essentially the face mask of the Cosmos and put more of a face mask that has LED trackers on them. It includes a lighthouse, so base stations that you can put in your room that will track you from the outside in. Essentially, you'll be able to put your hands behind your back, and it will still track you. That and the possibility of full body with the Vive trackers. Um, Now it is a hefty price. Resolution is 1440 by 1700 LCD panel. It's a good panel. Don't get me wrong on that. Standard 90 hertz refresh rate, um, with the IPD adjustments being 61 to 72 millimeters within that range. Now, though, the good thing about this though, it is hard to deal with the price of $900 for this headset. If money really isn't much of a concern to you and you really want to get the most, how do I put this, the best untethered experience when it comes to VR, you do have the option of getting the Vive wireless adapter. Essentially, you don't need the wire on your head anymore. It's an adapter that you connect to your headset, to your PC, and you don't have to worry about any sort of cable or tethering getting in your way when you're immersing yourself in, say, a VR chat. Even with your full body, you can do flips. I've seen some cool people, a lot of people do some real crazy stuff when it comes to untethered VR with their HTC Vive Cosmo Elite, and it's amazing. But in the end, it does come to a costly price in order to do that. So, like I say, I must reiterate, if money really isn't too of an issue and you're really looking to get the best experience you can without any sort of cables, the Vive Cosmo Elite will probably be the best option that you would have in order to get a headset. And now, lastly, the Valve Index, in my opinion, is the best headset that you guys can get if you are coming from, if you're new to the whole VR world. It is $1,000 headset, but it's that price for a premium headset that you can get currently on the market. 1440 resolution with 1600 LCD panel. And the great thing about the Valve Index, it's got a native 120 hertz refresh rate. So you're going to get smooth picture throughout the headset. So if any of you guys are really, really prone to motion sickness, this headset is the best for you. It's also got an experimental setting where you can even bump up the refresh rate all the way up to 144, which will make it even better for you. Um, with this headset, it also does have IPD of 58 millimeters to 72. It is a software adjustment, so there is nothing physical that you have to move, but it is the headset with the widest range for interpupil distance for anybody to use and wear. They are essentially the founders of these floating speakers that have immense, wonderful audio on the headset and the mic quality. The mic quality, I cannot stress it enough. It is wonderful. It is great. It is clear. If you want to be heard, it is almost as great of a microphone quality to record even videos, any sort of stuff. I give Valve props on how they managed to fit such a wonderful microphone on a headset. But another thing that does make the Valve Index stand out are their knuckles. The knuckles are essentially the Valve's version of their controllers, but they do have finger tracking on their controllers. So for any of you nerds who want to wiggle your fingers in any sort of VR games, yes, Blue. um, it's a nice little feature. Plus, with the fact that with these controllers, you can just easily strap them, and you don't really have to worry about holding them or gripping them in order to maintain where they are. You can just let them rest on your hands, and essentially just lets you be more immersed into the VR world. Now, a big kicker when it comes to the Valve Index, because it is a premium headset, and so many people are trying to get their hands on them. Fortunately, Valve cannot keep up with the demands. So currently, right now, I even checked yesterday, last night, it's still an 8-week wait in order to get the headset itself. There is also some countries that are not available to get them as well. If you are concerned about that, you can go on their website and double check if your country is selling the Valve Index in that region. But honestly, all in all, it just comes down to the main features of if you're on a budget or if you're looking for premium. If you don't have a PC on a budget, Quest 2 will be your best. If you do have a PC that is capable of running VR, but you don't look to invest so much money into VR, getting a full body trackers, HC Reverb with the amazing resolution that it has would be your next option. Untethered VR experience, the Cosmo Elite would be your next one. But if you're looking for the premium headset, Valve Index would be your choice. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, what about used headsets? Like the used Vives? They can go
Used
for like under
headsets?
$300 on eBay.
That too. I did not mention that. So I currently myself do have a Vive, and I bought that secondhand. If those headsets are still not really what you're looking for and you're still looking at for a budget, if you don't mind secondhand, there are listings on like eBay, Facebook Market, where they are selling the old HTC Vives and even the Rift CV1s. Only thing though, I say when you are looking at those headsets, I'd say maximum $400 and below. After that, you're better off investing more of that money into just getting one of the more recent headsets that are out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, anybody? Blue?
So I bought a Rift S some time ago, and I'm looking to upgrade. And the Quest 2 is a little is not a big upgrade for me. Would you recommend the Cosmos Elite?
Ooh. When it comes to the Cosmo Elite, you're not on sort of a budget? Are you looking to be like super, like I said, super untethered? Is that kind of the experience that you're looking for,
That
or?
is the end goal. That would be the end goal, but I don't need it.
Hmm. If that is the end goal, you could invest yourself in getting that Cosmo Elite then, and then step by step you can increment yourself to going fully untethered on that setup that you will get later on.
Thank you.
I have another question.
Mhm.
So Quest 2 isn't an option for me because of Facebook. My real name isn't really compatible with their policies.
Hmm.
And I'm also on Linux. I know the Vive and Valve Index work on Linux really well. Um, but I only have an RX 480, so my computer is a few years old. Would it be better to just
Hmm.
get a used Vive for the lower resolution, or could an Index still perform about the same
Ooh.
by just, I don't know,
At that
lowering the
point,
resolution a
yeah.
bit?
If your computer is a little bit older gen, um, and you still want like right away get in, look for the older headsets. Go for an HTC Vive.
Okay.
Valve Index it is a premium headset, which does require really intense hardware inside of it. At that point, yeah, just try to find at least a headset that's under $400 secondhand. That honestly would be your best option.
Thank you.
Right.
I have a question.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I have a not very powerful computer, and I don't know if I can use a, um, a VR headset for optimizing my power. My FPS is very low sometime,
Mhm.
and I don't know if I can. I don't know what choose if I have a not powerful computer.
Okay. Well, when it comes to that though, if you don't have a PC that's powerful enough at the current moment, um, try the Quest 2. If you're not keen on going with that one, depending on how old your PC is, you might want to double check. I know Steam has a VR capable test that you can try out with your PC. Whether it passes or not, it's if it passes it, try to see possibly like one of the older headsets because I know the older headsets will work with older computers. But if it doesn't, try to focus on more investing in upgrading that PC and then taking a look to see possibly what other headsets are coming out on the market. There is a headset called Deca Gear that has been teased. There's still a lot to be learned from them. And honestly, this headset, from what they announced, from what we've heard, it's starting, I believe, like at 450, and it actually might. Oh, hello, tracking. Hello. It might put. It might have the Oculus Facebook, a run for their money for such a cheap headset, and just the specs on itself. It's got eye tracking, it's got mouth tracking, and they even said that they're going to be having like a implementation of a sort of a hip tracker for only for 450. Um, Oculus might be in trouble though. So essentially, just try to take a look into whether your old PC can handle VR. If you can, just get one of the secondhand headsets. If not, invest more in upgrading that PC.
Okay.
Right. Are we taking questions
I
from
got
Twitch or?
questions. I got questions.
Also have a
Oh,
question.
you got questions? All right.
Yeah, let me pull in here from Twitch, and then we'll get to I think whoever else went in here. I think Happy or
Yeah, I was thinking of that.
okay. Yeah, let
And
me grab this one from Twitch here really quick.
Wolf
From
of Darkness
this is
is a good one.
yeah, Wolf of Darkness. So we've got a couple of them in here. I think you touched on this briefly. So they're asking for someone with motion sickness or color sensitivity. Would going with a Valve Index be a decent move? They currently use the Rift and use motion sickness meds. And I think they also specified either the Index or the HTC Vive.
Oh, no. Valve Index all the way. If motion sickness is really a big thing for you, Valve Index is the one to go with. Like I said, it's got the highest refresh rate. It'll update the picture a lot more faster and it'll make everything so much smoother. Because the main reason why some people get motion sickness in a VR headset is the stutters that are in between those frames. It'll essentially throw you off just because you are only essentially just using your eyes to like maintain your balance. It will throw you off if you don't have a smooth enough image of what's going on in your surroundings. So if that's the case, yeah, no, get that Valve Index if you can. It is worth it over the Vive.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you for that. And then, yeah, someone
Mhm.
here from the audience. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, hi. So,
Hello.
I don't have VR, but I have glasses, and I don't particularly like contacts. So, which VR set would be better to comfortably fit the glasses in, if possible at all?
Ooh, that is a good question. um, shoot. Some of these headsets don't pertain to people. A lot of people who do wear glasses, but there are accessories that you can purchase online depending on the headsets you have. I personally bought a new face mask. Essentially, it's a little cover that would go onto the headset that does give you a little bit more room and a little bit more cushion. Which I'm trying to remember the name. I've used them before. I think it's like Gear VR. If anything, gamer, just talk to me after this panel, and I'll give you more details on that. Currently,
Okay.
can't remember, but I know the Valve Index do have a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to glasses like that. I currently do have glasses myself. I'm using HTC Vives, and honestly, I haven't really had much problem with my glasses being in these headsets. So, but we can connect afterwards about that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you for that.
Honestly, I
Let
find
me
most
grab.
headsets work pretty well with glasses.
Yeah.
Even the cheap ones, like cheap Android VR headset I got. I have glasses and it worked fine.
To know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me grab another one here from Twitch. Let me see here. What else did I have here? Okay, so Blue Terra here is asking, would you recommend the Quest 2 for only PC VR since they're on a budget?
Ooh. Um. If you are on a budget, yes. I've really heard only good things when people come to using the Quest 2. Just make sure you do get the link cable. And if you're completely, like I said, if you're completely fine when it comes to the whole Facebook usage, like if you're in good standards, go ahead. You can still hook the Quest 2 and use with certain with Steam games. You're probably not gonna be able to run too great on very heavy demanding games such like Half-Life Alex. That will be a little bit tough to run with that headset. But I mean, if you're looking on a budget, go ahead and get yourself the Quest 2.
Gotcha, cool. Thank you. Anybody else here in the audience?
I've got one. Do you have any resources that you'd recommend for things you want to put in a PC to make it supportive of a good VR build?
Ooh. Good resource. Well, shoot. There are on like I said on Steam even themselves they have a little testing to see if VR stuff is your computer is VR capable. They will recommend some stuff at the very bottom of what kind of hardware you should have, but it's also depending on what kind of headset you're looking for as well. Because I know with the HP Reverb G2, it's demanding more hardware for that headset. I believe they specified for like a GPU, they're looking for around a 1080 for as a graphics card. I mean, it's still a 1080 is still a good card, but still fairly new. Anything past that, I mean, you're expecting to get more frames and a better performance with that when it comes to that. But most headsets, their websites will give you like a recommendation and a minimal of specs when it comes to PCs. All right.
Cool. Let's see here. What else do we have? What else do we have? I guess someone wanted to ask about the potential Quest 2 jailbreak. I'm not sure if that's.
Oh, that are we even allowed to talk about that?
No, no, it's not. I probably
Okay.
shouldn't have mentioned that. Anyways,
Wait, are we?
let's
No,
see.
no.
What?
We are. We
No.
are able to talk about it.
Might sound like
What's
it's
saying that we
illegal,
are?
unless it
I
can be
mean, that is
classified as
true.
DRM.
Huh?
I mean, it
Fair?
is true. So yeah, there is great news with there is great news with the Quest 2. Just keep in mind this will probably void the it will void the warranty. Jailbreaking, which is essentially just hacking into the hardware itself where you don't have to have a Facebook account in order to be able to use the headset. Now, they've just recently announced it's one person who has done it so far, but it will take a while before everybody learns how to do it themselves. The only issue with that though is you have to keep in mind and be mindful of maybe possible updates that Facebook might find in order to prevent you from using that headset. Because knowing Facebook, they will do that. But until it gets out in the wild of jailbreaking and everybody starts learning on how to do it, honestly, it's just more of just make sure you have a Facebook account that's on standard. If not, as soon as everybody learns on how to jailbreak that, go ahead, get your headset, and honestly do whatever you want with it at that point.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just more of, it will void the warranty. I have to re-emphasize on that. So if anything does
Yeah.
happen to it, you're out of luck. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you for that. Anybody else from the
That
audience here?
actually reminds me, I heard they don't have replacement parts even if you pay money for the Quest. I could be misremembering now. Do you remember anything about that?
I don't remember seeing anything on that. I will have to take a look into that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
By the way, now that I'm talking, people keep asking about the Pimax and why you're not mentioning it in the chat.
I was just gonna ask about
So
that.
the Pimax, it's essentially just the headset itself is really costly though. It's essentially why I kind of really didn't touch base on it at all throughout this. That's a whole beast in itself that I'd have to honestly, I haven't really taken much look into it. But the Pimax in itself, it's kind of something completely different from what I had set in mind.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's see. What do we have here? I got something here. Let me just scroll back up. So we've got Ecstatic here. I'm not sure if this is. Let's see. So have you mentioned the screen door effect? Could you recommend a higher resolution headset even though you want to run it in a lower resolution?
So when it comes to that, I honestly, I honestly don't know too much about the whole screen. I do know about the screen door effect, but I haven't really looked into much on what kind of would help with that situation and stuff. So unfortunately, I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Real sorry about that.
Yep. No worries. No worries. All good. We'll check anybody in the audience here, or should I just keep going from Twitch?
Mm,
Yeah,
I have a
probably.
question.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So do some VR headset have problems on some specific game or do not have the necessary power for some games?
Can you repeat that again?
Uh, do some VR headset have problems with some specific game or don't have the necessary power for some game?
That's kind of a more. I haven't investigated that on what games will essentially do that. I honestly don't know on that part.
Okay.
That does remind me. One time I heard there's this headset that has like eye tracking and mouth tracking, but it's not supported in VR chat. I was just hearing that earlier today.
I believe.
Yeah.
Are you referring to like the HC? But I think it was like a version of an HTC Pro.
I'm not actually sure.
No,
I
no.
just remember it vaguely, and it reminded me of that.
Okay.
Just eye tracking and face tracking in general. It's not in order
Yeah, I think
to
you might be
upgrade that
referring
in
to the
game.
Deca Gear then,
Yeah, but I
because
think
the
that's
Deca
it.
Gear, yeah, the Deca Gear is, like I said, that's one of the newer headsets that just been recently announced. People are still trying to learn more about it, but essentially, yeah, it does have eye tracking in the headset, and mouth tracking will essentially, mimic the faces that you do make. Currently, right now, from what it seems like, it's not supportive on VR chat, but there is still that possibility later down in the future if they do decide to implement that, though.
That would be great.
It's more, yeah. I mean, there's still a lot that so many of these VR companies can do with their own headset. So,
But I think more generally on that question, though, it's like most of the games you can check them. They'll probably tell you. Like Beat Saber probably runs
Mhm.
on most. Alex is pretty good about
Mhm.
telling you which headsets it's compatible with.
Mhm.
Steam VR compatibility can make a lot more things more compatible with it, apparently.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And then speaking about games too, I mean, currently right now, I mean, there's not too many to overwhelm anybody that is coming in. I mean, usually whenever somebody does hop into VR, everybody gets like the standard like Beat Saber going into VR chat. Have like Alex if your PC can handle that stuff. I mean, there is like a good list of VR games that you can get. Pavlov is like another CS:GO, but in VR. That's been around, but honestly, is a lack of new games coming out, but not too many that it will overwhelm everybody that is starting into VR. So.
Well, there is tons of content in VR chat. It's amazed me.
Oh,
Just how many amazing things
oh, I
I've
can
seen.
tell you that I spent over 2,000 in this game and counting still.
Yeah, it's rapidly increasing to the top of my most played list in Steam.
Yep.
So, I think that's.
Yeah.
Are we good on time? Or that's it for the panel. All right. Well, thank you guys for
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
It's fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll
Thank
be hanging
you.
around afterwards if you guys want to chit chat here. And yeah, anybody on Twitch, if they're able to join the just come on ahead. I'll be hanging out here for a bit. So yeah.
That'll be really nice. I'm afraid of interrupting too much on stream. This is like time limited.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much.